So Kyrie Irving gets traded to the Dallas Mavericks for what? Spencer Dinwiddie. Oh, actually, it was Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris for Dinwiddie, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a couple picks. You have to look at this trade in three ways. You have to look at this. We can talk, and we will talk about this trade through Brooklyn's eyes. We'll talk about this trade through Dallas's eyes, and we have to talk about this trade through the Lakers' eyes. You see, Kyrie Irving is a superior talent. Kyrie Irving is one of the greatest, if not the greatest ball handler the world has ever seen. Kyrie is one of the greatest finishers around the rim we have ever seen. Kyrie paints pictures of art while playing basketball. That's how gracious and that's how graceful his game is. Kyrie would make any team 10 times better. So you're asking yourself, why would the Brooklyn Nets trade him? Outside of the fact, of course, he demanded a trade. Individualism is a word that's new in sports. Of course, you have people like Deion Sanders. You have people like T.O. You have some very I'm not gonna say flamboyant. That's kind of disrespectful. Boisterous people, confident people. While Kyrie doesn't fit that script, what he does fit is you never know what he's going to do. You know he's going to be good at basketball, but outside of his game being as great as it is, what else do we know about Kyrie Irving? Well, Kyrie Irving is a tad bit injury prone. Kyrie Irving, and it goes back to the individualism, Kyrie Irving a lot of times goes at the beat of his own drum, which there's absolutely nothing wrong. But when you play team sports, that can rub a lot of people the wrong way. Because one of the biggest things that you have to be in team sports is, or one of the biggest thing about team sports is you have to be reliable. You also have to give of your or die to yourself for the team. Yes, you can still be great. You can still be as good as you are, but you just have to be. It's always team first. And that's not just basketball. That's any sport that has a team. You see, I hear a lot of people talking about the Kyrie Irving, KD, James Harden tenured in Brooklyn as being one of the biggest failures in NBA history. And I tend to agree. And it's not because their talent wasn't there. It's not because they weren't able to excel. It's because they were barely on the floor, and a lot of that was because of Kyrie Irving. You know, his stance on the vaccine. I've never said his stance was right or wrong. What I said was he's making a decision and he's standing on it, which I can respect. But with every decision comes consequences. Whether the consequences are good and bad, every decision comes with consequences. Kyrie Irving decided not to play. KD getting hurt was not a consequence of Kyrie getting played, or not playing. But now you have James Harden have to shoulder a load that he did not expect to shoulder, and now he's out of there. I think you get to a point where I've always said this, and people have always said this too, so it's not an original thought, but talent supersedes anything. which is one big reason. And clearly Kyrie has not done half as much, not even a fraction as much as what Antonio Brown has done. But that's why Antonio Brown continues to get opportunities, because he is talented at playing football. He's one of the greatest wide receivers we've ever seen. Kyrie Irving, at least for the Brooklyn Nets organization, his talent did not supersede, or his talent didn't overcome his problems, because his problems caused him to miss a lot of games. I think a stat is out. In 4 years, 4 or 5 years, Kyrie Irving has only played like 82 or 84 games with Kevin Durant. Like, in 4 years. A lot of that was, of course, COVID. A lot of that was injury. A lot of that was, or some of that was, of course, getting suspended for his promotion of a film. All I'm saying is, Kyrie's talent alone will allow you to overlook a lot of things. And I don't even think a lot of what Kyrie is happening is that bad, honestly. I don't think it's really bad at all. He's just making decisions. Again, he's making a decision. He's standing on it. However, your talent does not allow you, your talent is not allowed to cover up your problems, because you're barely on the floor. And I think it got to a point where you get to contract negotiations and you're thinking to yourself, I've been playing well for 2 months or so. I think it's time to re-up. And now I'm hearing a lot of reports about stipulations in contracts or whatever, but you're asking for a 4-year maximum extension. And from what I hear, they're pretty much saying, hold on. I mean, we will give you a 3-year, but there has to be some stipulations, because Kyrie Irving, as we've seen, as great of a talent, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, you never know what he's going to do. Never. So with Brooklyn getting back Spencer Dinwiddie, you see, the reason, and one of the biggest, we'll talk about the Lakers in a second, one of the biggest reasons why you make the trade with Dallas instead of someone like the Lakers or someone like the Clippers or whatever. Of course, we heard that Joe Tsai just didn't want to acquiesce to whatever Kyrie Irving wanted, which I understand. But you still have Kevin Durant on this roster. As much as bad as he's been playing, you still have Ben Simmons on this roster. And we've seen there are still, I know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. I get that. And people maybe blindly, like myself, that's expecting Ben Simmons to get back to all-star level Ben Simmons, might be naive and might just be on the insanity carousel. But the name alone, you still have Ben Simmons. They're in win now mode. The reason why you don't want to give up Westbrook and 2 first-round picks or whatever, or 2 future first-round picks, is Westbrook does not do anything right now to help you win more than someone like a Spencer Dinwiddie, who can hit threes, who can play defense sort of. Someone like Dorian Finney-Smith, who is the definition of a 3-and-D player. I think whoever loses the star loses the trade, but I think that Brooklyn got back as much as they can, or at least right now assets, got back the most they can get with Dallas than they did with anybody else. I know they were talking about Terrence Mann, who's pretty good, and talking about other players from the Clippers, maybe John Wall, but they went with Spencer Dinwiddie, who's been there, and they also went with Dorian Finney-Smith, who is Brooklyn has been a good team, man, especially over these last few months. They've been a good team. Yes, a lot of that is because of Kyrie Irving, but it's been a good team. So I think, yeah, you gave up the star, but you got back a good amount. Now for Dallas, you think to yourself, why would you make this move? when you look at when you look at some teams, it doesn't bode well when you have two ball dominant players. But I say, Dallas, you make this move because you're desperate, but not in a bad way. Like, you have Luka, and that's Luka. Luka's one of the best players in the league, if not the best in some people's eyes right now. And we've been saying that all Dallas needs is a second star. Well, you got one. You got Kyrie. And I understand there's two arguments that are being made right now about this move on the Dallas side, and both of them are completely understandable. One of them is you have two ball dominant players. You have Kyrie Irving, you have Luka Doncic, and both of them thrive with the ball in their hand. In fact, well, I would say Kyrie plays better without the ball in his hand because he had to play with LeBron James a good amount of time, or had to play with LeBron James those years, and of course, and ultimately won them a championship. Luka Doncic does not play well without the ball because he pretty much always has the ball. Now, a lot of that is because of the talent that has been around him, but still. So, also, Luka has not played or fared well with other good to borderline great players. Luka did not play well with Porzingis. Really good player. Doing really well in Washington right now. He didn't really play too well. It was a struggle at times playing with Jalen Brunson, who is now killing it in New York. So there's changes that's going to be needed on both sides. You know, Kyrie has to be able to kind of get back into his maybe possibly playing without the ball in his hands, as well as Luka Doncic. And also, this team at least on paper, looks horrible defensively. Kyrie's not a good defender. Luka is not a good defender. Their best defender right now is what? JaVale McGee? Nah. So I get that. I get that argument. But I also get the argument that said, well, if you look at this, Dallas got to the NBA Western Conference Finals with Luka and Jalen Brunson. And while no disrespect to Jalen Brunson having a hell of a season in New York, Kyrie Irving is better than Jalen Brunson by a wide margin. So if you can get to the NBA or Western Conference Finals with Jalen Brunson, what can you do with Kyrie? The stipulation, and it goes back to what I said about Kyrie in Brooklyn, is what Kyrie are you getting? Now, I will shoot some bail. Kyrie has been hooping these last few, maybe 2-3 months. He's been hooping consistently. Now, of course, that was with Brooklyn, so now I am curious to see what he looks like in a Dallas uniform. And Dallas, I mean, they take a risk, but it's high risk, high reward. Because, I mean, on paper, right now, Luka and Kyrie is the best backcourt in the NBA. By far. And, of course, you still have Steph and Clay. But, you know, Clay hasn't been where he's been. And, of course, we'll talk about Steph in a second as well. Steph's hurt. Who else? Exactly. And I said I want to talk about the Lakers side for a second is because this is the definition of hindsight is 2020. And of course, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen next week, next year. You never know. Hell, tomorrow's not promised. But just imagine, man. I'm not going to talk about all the assets and pieces that the Lakers gave up to get Anthony Davis because it's Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, when healthy and when playing well, is still arguably a top 10 player in the league. I'm not going to disrespect Anthony Davis. So I would have made that trade too. Yes, you gave up Brandon Ingram. Yes, you gave up D'Angelo Russell and a bunch of players. But I would have done the same thing if it's Anthony Davis. The trade that I want to look at is the Russell Westbrook trade. The Russell Westbrook trade that sent players like Kyle Kuzma, KCP, really good, solid players off the team. And then now when you really think about it, everybody knew coming in that LeBron James and Russell Westbrook was not a good pairing. And shocker, they haven't been. And now the Lakers are desperately trying to get Westbrook off the team. Hell, right now, and I'm not going to go in detail about it because I'm going to wait till if it happens. But right now, I think Shans was saying that there's like a 3-team deal brewing with Westbrook being involved. But again, hindsight is 20/20, man. I'm almost sure. I understand that Joe Tsai wasn't trying to give those pieces or trying to give Westbrook what he wanted and go to LA. But I promise you, the pot would have been a tad bit sweeter if instead of Westbrook, you have, I don't know, a package that could have been Kuzma, could have been KCP, could have been, I don't know, some picks. You remember, see, the Lakers are so, quiet as it's kept, the Lakers have not been good when it comes to, free agency, trade deadlines, or whatever. You remember, there's been so many players that have been linked to LA that LA could have gotten that probably would help them in a situation or help them not only get Kyrie now, but help them or probably better their situation, i.e., you remember when they said that they were about to get Kyle Lowry, like Toronto Raptors, Kyle Lowry, still really good Kyle Lowry. They're about to get him, but didn't want to give up Talen Horton-Tucker, who is now in Utah. I don't even know what he's doing in Utah. Or when they had pretty much a done deal with DeMar DeRozan and said, no, we're going to go Westbrook, bro. The Lakers had the pieces to make this move. The problem is they didn't have the pieces when they needed them. And now you're looking up. And the Lakers, hell, quiet as it's kept, nobody's talking about it. Last night when LeBron James scored the record, the Lakers still lost. So I think that at the end of the day, Brooklyn got the most that they could for Kyrie. I do want to see they're talking about, him, KD, and the organization are in talks about the future of the team. I think the biggest chess piece in this whole situation is KD. Whereas if KD demands a trade, Kyrie Irving going to the right team could shift the balance of a team's maybe chances of making it further in the playoffs, making it to the playoffs, making it to the NBA Finals. But KD moving somewhere can shape or can just completely change the dynamic of the NBA. That's how good of a player KD is. So, oh man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.